fast you were going?
What? How fast you were going?
I don't know. 10?
8.
Be advised, this is an explicit podcast, so if you're easily offended, get your panties twisted into a knot, turn this off before you get butthurt and mad, start to cry, have to run to your safe space. All opinions are those of the host and his guest and do not reflect the opinions of any government agency. Welcome to Motorcop Chronicles podcast. Your host, the Iceman, part 2. We got Jason still here, but we're gonna do the funny stuff. We got the serious stuff out the way.
That's right.
The reason I came across him on TikTok, and then I went on YouTube and found his channel. I started watching. He was telling funny stories, which caught my attention. I was listening, and I ended up sending him a message there. So we're gonna talk about the funny stories because he's got quite a few funny stories there. But the thing is, I don't know if you probably hadn't, but Freebird, who is a frequent guest on the show and a good friend of mine, he was a reserve officer for a very long time. And thing he never had is, I'm gonna ask you, I didn't even ask if you had it. You might, I'm sure you did in that time. Them naked calls where you got to deal with naked people.
Mm-hmm.
So we always try to get a naked call for Freebird, make them jealous.
Yeah, I've had a few of those, man. That shit sucks sometimes.
Oh, you got bad naked calls, not good one.
Oh yeah, man. Like there's nothing like trying to wrestle a 6'3", 220-pound naked, sweaty man with his junk flapping on your thigh. That's for sure. Oh man.
Not the one you want to be the first person to.
Oh my God, man! Me and my corporal one night, we got a call about a gentleman sitting in the middle of the roadway, right? And so we show up. It's 2:00 in the morning. Sure enough, this butt naked dude is sitting right in the middle of the road. I'm talking about the double solid lines was right dead center through the crack. I mean, he was naked sitting in the middle of the road. We shined a trusty stream light on him, and this man is sitting there eating broken glass, right?
Jesus Christ.
And he's got the whole 1,000-yard stare going. My corporal's asking him, is he okay? Never even acknowledged the fact that we were standing there. And so we're just kind of like circling this guy, shining a flashlight on him, trying to check for injuries. The only injury we saw was blood coming out both sides of his mouth where he was chewing on his broken glass. And so after, I'm standing on one side, Corporal standing on the other side, shining a flashlight on him. Corporal's steady asking him, hey, man, you okay? Hey, buddy. Hey, man, you all right? Never even looked at us. I mean, straight 1,000-yard stare, straight down the road. So my corporal asked me, he said, man, what do you think we should do? I said, shit. I think we should call the damn cavalry because he's going to snap out of this in a minute. And I don't think both of us is going to get him in the car. Nah, man, we'll be okay. We'll be okay. I'm like, man, I don't know. And so while we're having this conversation, mind you, this gentleman still hasn't even acknowledged the fact that we're sitting here, right? And so my corporal reaches down and just touches him slightly on the shoulder. Hey, man, you okay? And I swear to God, man, as soon as he touched him, he quit chewing. He turned his head slowly to the left and looked up. And he's sitting Indian style, right? And he just he didn't put his hands down on that. This man sitting Indian style, stand straight up in the middle of the road, and the fight was on. And I'm telling you, it was an awful fight. Like we're trying to subdue him, man. His junk's flapping around, hitting your leg. my corporal ended up hitting him in the back of the neck with a baton, and he fell. And when he fell face first, and then he rolled over on his back. And so we're trying to get the handcuffs, get him rolled over. And before we could get to him, I swear to God, man, this man set up like the Undertaker. And the fight was on again. It was awful.
Well, did y'all figure out what he was on? Was he smoking that fake Mojo weed or whatever? That'll make you crazy.
He ended up being on bath salts.
Yeah, that's basically. Yeah, that stuff makes you crazy.
He ended up being on bath salts, man. Excuse me, just a second. I'm gonna have to. My AirPods are dying, so
okay.
I'm gonna have to grab. I got another set, so I'm gonna grab those real quick. I don't know if it's gonna cut the phone off or not, but hold on a second.
All right. We got listening, motherfuckers that eating glass. Kind of a hint when you show up. And you can tase people like that and everything else.
All right, I got you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I was just saying how you can tase people like that and stuff and it won't affect them.
Oh, no, it didn't. It didn't affect him.
They just don't feel stuff. Like, I just, when y'all were fighting, nobody was trying to cock block you, huh? Like,
right. And you know what else? You know what else I thought was funny was how each officer that showed up trying to help, and it ended up taking 9 of us to put this man in the car and take him to the hospital. And each officer that showed up fired a taser cartridge. And we was like, stop, because we was getting we were getting tased, so stop fucking tasing, goddamn, it doesn't work.
Yeah. It's like you've been in that. You might have, but I was at a call a long time ago, and had another cop there. I think he's still in law enforcement. I'm not sure where though, but we used to be really good friends, and we were wrestling around with a guy, and finally I released, and I told him, I said, watch your face. I'm going to spray this dude. Well, he didn't watch his face. I ended up spraying the bad guy and the other deputy that was there. Needless to say, I got the guy handcuffed, and him and the other deputy were incapacitated because they couldn't see for a while. So, yeah. So if you ever around me and hey, watch your face, because
watch your face.
About to spray some people. I still prefer to spray over a taser. So
yeah, you sound like my damn corporal, man. He sure believed in that cap, son.
Yeah, we use freeze, which is CS and OC combined. So, and you'll know it when you if anybody's ever been sprayed with this stuff, and you go to take a shower, you better remember you have gotten sprayed with it, because it will reactivate and drain down to your little manly parts down there. And
God, that's great.
Not the kind of fire you want down below. Trust me.
Hell no. No, we had a call like that one night, man. It was a domestic, and we got there, and the dude, right time we got there, the guy slapped the shit out of his wife. So he didn't put up a fight. That's what was weird about it. He didn't put up a fight till we got handcuffs on him, and then he wanted to lay across the seat. And excuse me, I had to cough and move my microphone. But he didn't want to fight until after we got the cuffs on him. So I put him in the back of my car, and he lays down in the seat and starts kicking the window. And my corporal opened the door. He was like, "Look, kick that goddamn window again, you're getting this cap stun in your face." And so he calmed down for a minute. So I'm over there getting the lady's information, and I come back to the car and I open the door, and I asked him, I said, "What's your name?" And he said, "My name's Satan, motherfucker." And I said, "Okay, well, what's your real name, Satan?" And he goes, "I just told you, my name's Satan." And so he starts trying to kick me. He turns around, he starts trying to kick me, and he's acting buck ass wild. And so I'm at the passenger side door, and about that time, my corporal saw me fighting with him, and he opens up the rear driver's side, and he goes, "Watch out, Chaney, shut the door." And I tell him, I said, "Nah, man, don't do it." So he calms down briefly. I get my notepad back out, and I ask him, I said, "Look, man, just give me your fucking name so I can get this report done, and we can get out of here." And he looked at me, man, and he said, "I told you my name's Satan, and I'm from hell." And as soon as he said that, he tried to start kicking me, and I shut the door. And my corporal opened the door back up and hit him with the old Z pattern right across the forehead. And so he starts rubbing his face in the seat and hollering, I'm on fire. I'm on fire. And my corporal opens the door back up and he goes, "You feel right at home now, don't you, bitch?" Because he told him he was from hell.
I mean,
so
if you're Satan, I mean,
yeah.
They know how everybody else feels down there.
Right. Yeah. He said, "You feel right at home now, don't you, bitch?" Oh man.
The crazy people can be funny and dangerous all at the same time.
Yeah, and sometimes they're so funny that they are dangerous.
Well, crazy people either are just crazy, or they're crazy because of the drugs they're on, or combined. Don't realize how strong. You don't realize how strong a small person can be, and they don't feel nothing.
Oh God, yeah, man.
A little Oriental girl, she probably weighed about a whole 90 pounds. And she said she was an angel, and that I was Satan. I was
shit.
Satan, and but and the other deputy that was with me, he was an angel too. And she looked at me and she's like, "You're Satan." And I was waiting for her head to start spinning around or something like that. But it took both us, and I was probably about 240 at the time. It took both of us grown men to put this little 90-pound woman in the back of a car, because it's like trying to hold on to a crazy chihuahua or something like that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I got out with this guy one night. We was having a bunch of car break-ins. I'm talking about, it was like, it's probably 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and seen this guy walking down the road, man. It's in July, you know. He's got the typical "I'm a burglar" outfit on, the stocking cap. You know, it's 75 degrees at 3 o'clock in the morning. He's got the stocking cap, the big black coat, you know, the 3 layers of pants and all the shit. You know, he's basically got a sign on his back that says "I rob shit," you know. and so I get out with him, and as soon as I walked up to him, as soon as I opened the door, he walked. He didn't try to run or anything. I give him credit. He walks right up to the front of my cruiser, and he puts his hands on the hood. And I said, "What are you doing, man?" So I was just getting out, man, to do a contact card. He's like, "Nah, I know how y'all motherfuckers is. You gonna take me to jail?" I was like, "Nah, I ain't gonna take you to jail." I said, "I just want to get out with you, man. So, you know, having a lot of break-ins." And I said, "Just make sure you ain't out here stealing shit." And I told him, so I kept noticing he never did touch it, but he kept, while we were talking, he kept looking down at his pocket. And so I asked him, I said, "Man, look," I said, "You're making me kind of nervous. You keep looking at your pocket like that." I said, I said, "You know, put your hands back on the hood. Let me pat you down real quick. Make sure you ain't got no weapons." I said, he's like, "All right." So, he doesn't put up a fight at all. He turns around, puts his hands on the hood. I started patting him down. When I got to the pocket, you know, I didn't go straight for the pocket. I wanted him to get a little comfortable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm patting him under his arms, around his chest, waistband, and I skip right over the pocket, go down his leg, down the other side, and finally the last thing I did, I put my hand on his pocket. And immediately, as soon as I put my hand on his pocket and just gave it a little squeeze, you could feel, at that particular time, I couldn't tell exactly what. I knew it was dope because you could feel like, I don't know, 10 to 15 individual baggage because you could feel the knots on. And so I asked him, I said, "What you got in your pocket?" And I swear to God, man, this man looks right at my dash cam and he goes, "I don't know." And I said, "Bro, you got pants on? You don't even know what you got in your own pockets?" And he said,
"Not my pants."
Yeah. He said, I don't know. I said, "Well, do you mind if I search your pocket?" "Nah, go ahead." So, all right, now picture this now. He's dead center on that Crown Vic, right? looking at my dash cam. So I reach in his pocket and I pull out a handful of baggies. It was like little crack hits, is what it was. And so he had 2 handfuls of a little, probably like little 10 bags of crack. So I put 2 handfuls of crack. I grabbed the first handful, put him on the hood. He's looking at it, eyes all big. I put my hand back in his pocket. I grabbed the second handful. I set it down right beside the first handful. When I set that one down, he goes, hey, he snapped his head around at him. He goes, oh shit, where'd that come from? I said, it came out your pocket, man. He talking about, that shit came out my pocket? I said, yeah, it came out your pocket. You just see me take it out your pocket. And just what you just said, he said, well, that ain't mine. I said, well, whose is it? He said, man, that shit got to belong to my brother, man. These my brother pants.
These like my pants.
Yeah, I said, they're your brother's pants. He said, yeah, these my brother's pants. I said, come on, man. I said, how the hell you got your brother's pants on? And so this man proceeds to tell me, he said, me and my brother's fucking the same girl. And so he's like, so we was laid up in the bed and she asked me to go to the store to get her a blunt, so we could roll up some weed. And I just rolled out of bed and put on the first pair of pants that I came to. And these are my brother's pants.
Was the brother in bed with him too?
Listen, I tell him, I said, wait a minute. I said, back that up one more time. I said, explain that to me one more time. And he said, yeah, man, me and my brother were doing the same girl. And she asked me if I would go get her a blunt. So I just rolled out of bed and grabbed a pair of pants and I was walking to the store, man. I said, okay. I said, so was this girl in the bed with y'all or was, nah, man, me and my brother was in the bed. And I said, okay, so let me get this straight. You're in the bed, butt naked with your brother, tip to tip. And you just roll out of bed. I said, man, that sounds like some funky shit to me. And he looked at me, he's like, man, don't do that. I said, don't do what? What are you talking about? I said, nah, I'm just saying, I said, you just said you and your brothers in the bed together. I said, was y'all laying tip to tip to butt? Or how does that work? And he was like, man, I ain't no damn punk, man. That's my shit. Just take me to jail.
be like that right there. Be like,
gay.
It's like, come on, dude. Come on.
Right.
You're digging a bigger hole.
You're right. But I know the story, man. I got to tell your listeners was one of the stories I know you listened to was about the drill, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for some reason, if you notice, all my stories are like from 12 to 3 o'clock in the morning. Because I always work night shifts, so I've always been a night owl. And my wife was pregnant at the time with my daughter, and it was like 11:30, 12 o'clock, close to midnight. And so she asked me to go to the store and get her. When she was pregnant, she always craved those those big ass pickles that they sell at the convenience stores. It's like a big gigantic pickle.
No, I know what you're talking about, but I do not eat pickles.
Yeah, she was craving those shits, man. Like the ones that's like really spicy. And so she asked me, she said, hey, can you think you run to the store and get me a pickle and an ice cream sandwich? I was like, you want a spicy ass huge pickle and an ice cream sandwich? She's like, yeah.
Combination.
So I went to get it, nonetheless, I went to go get it. And from where I stay at to the closest convenience store, I had to get on the interstate. And it's probably like 4 miles. You go about 4 miles and get off on the exit, and it takes you right off to the mall. It's like, I think they call it like a spur, because it just branches off and ends right at the mall. And so in between this 4 miles from my house to the mall exit, this car approaches me from behind. They start bright light. They flip their lights on bright. I can't see shit. They get right up on my bumper to the point that I can't even see their headlights anymore. I can just see the outline of their vehicle. And then they jumped over in the passing lane and they pulled right up past my rear quarter panel. And they didn't swerve, but they started like easing into my car. And so it forced me into the emergency lane. And so once I hit the emergency lane, I sped up. And once I got out in front of them, I got back over, into the slow lane. And then they shot up around my passenger side in the emergency lane and start forcing me over into the passing lane. And so this goes on this whole 4 miles. It's just like back and forth. It's almost like they was trying to wreck me. And then they shot around me and got in front of me and started slamming on the brakes. They were swerving, doing all kinds of crazy shit, man. And so this was during the time I was working part-time at, where I became chief at. And, so I, being that I come from Florence City and I was entering into Florence City, but where I was at, it was like the end of city limits and right on the county line. So if they would have went a half a mile this way, they would have stayed in the city. If they'd have went a half a mile the other way, they was in the next county. And so I called the non-emergency line to where I used to work at Florence City, and they wouldn't send nobody. They was like, look, we tied up right now. Just, see if Darlington County can help out. So I knew my buddy was working, and I called him, and I was like, man, where are you at? And he told me, and he just happened to be like 5 miles from where I was at. And so instead of stopping at the store, I continue on, and they're still following me, man, doing this crazy shit, weaving. And so me and him was on the phone, like we are now. I'm telling him, hey, I'm turning here. I'm going here. And he was like, all right, well, keep going this way. I'm coming. So long story short, he ends up getting behind them and he cuts the blue lights on. Well, as soon as he cut the blue lights on, they swerved out like they was going to take off and pass me. And I boxed them in, and then eventually they stopped. Well, when they came to a stop, I just kept going because, man, I had on a pair of basketball. I ain't had no drawers on. I had basketball shorts on, a pair of sandals, and like a tank top. Like I'm off work, And so I kept going, and I thought about it. I was like, nah, man, there was like 2 or 3 people at least in the cars. I got to go back and help my buddy. And so I get to looking in the car, and I'm like, oh shit. Of all the nights I left my damn, I keep like, I think it's a Glock 26, the little subcompact 45.
Yeah.
And I was like, of all nights, I leave this son of a bitch on the table. So I get to looking, man, and we was hanging up drywall in our ups. We was finishing the bonus room in the house that we stay in now. And I looked around, I was like, shit, the only thing I had was a box of wood screws and a DeWalt drill. So I turned down a side road and came back up behind him, and I see him approaching the car. And so as he's approaching the car, I jump out with this DeWalt in my hand, and I stepped in between their car and these new LED light bars with the blue lights. They're bright as shit.
Yeah,
like,
they're blind.
You can't. Oh God. Well, I positioned myself right in between those blue LEDs and the rear light on the vehicle. And I'm sitting here drawn down on his car with a fucking drill. And so he gets the one guy out the car, handcuffs him, makes him lay down, works his way to the passenger side. And when he got to the passenger side, the guy starts reaching under the seat. And he's still on the driver's side. So I stay in the line of sight with those blue lights. And I told him, I said, man, look back at me and show me your hands. And when he looked out the window, all he saw was the silhouette of me. And I'm pointing this drill at him. He's like, all right, man, shit, don't shoot me. Don't shoot me. Don't shoot me. So he gets out, lays down, sprawls out. We handcuff him. And couldn't find out, man, the car is stolen. They stole the car in Florida. They had robbed like 3 convenience stores on the way up. And he asked him, he was like, man, why was you, running my man off the road? And they was going to take my truck. Like, they was going to run me off the road.
They were trying to get you to stop or something.
Yeah, they were trying to get me to stop and take my shit. And so, after he, all, the other officers and shit started showing up, they separated them, put them in different cars. And when my buddy walks over to me, he said, man, that was a hell of a stop, man. He was like, bro, you always attracting the craziest shit. And I told him, I said, well, I thank God because them motherfuckers ain't start shooting. He was like, oh, man, shit, you had my back. He was like, I saw you draw down on him. And I pulled that drill out from behind my back and hit the trigger on that. And he about shit his pants, man. He said, bro, You is the craziest son of a bitch I know. He was like, man, you out here with a drill? I said, yeah. I said, man, I wouldn't have been able to fire back, but I'd have chucked this heavy ass battery at him.
Say, you been screwed.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? If you see them people they're like, it is special needs person area one time, and he had a bicycle, and he had carried a notebook. He'd stand on the side of the road with a blow dryer and point it.
Oh God!
And then right there, license plate. But you'd be surprised how many people would slow down.
Yeah, because it looked like a damn radar gun. He got that damn.
Point that blow dryer.
Oh God, man! I'll tell you, it was. You were talking about the guy that was like a reserve officer. I used to have a state constable that used to ride with me every weekend. And he was an older guy, man. He was cool as the other side of the pillow though. And he was a rugged old son of a bitch, man. Me and him, we had many a throwdowns, me and him did together. And this guy bullied the owner of this club. The name of the club's called Yours and Mine, right? And I don't have anything against people's sexual preference, but let's just say that this is a place where only guys come to socialize with each other. And so the guy bullies the owner of this place, and he kicked the man out of his own club. He told the owner to get the hell out of his own club. And so when we showed up, there's this, I'm talking about, man, this guy was huge. He looked like he looked like Tyson Fury size, except for just darker skin. And I mean, huge guy, man. And so he's flagging us down. You know, he's standing in the middle of the street right downtown Florence. He's waving his arms, flagging us down. And when I pulled up, as soon as I put the car in park, I ain't barely get the door open. And he goes, he said, I need y'all to help me so bad. This son of a bitch just kicked me out my own club. And it was just hilarious to see this big dude with this soft as cotton voice, man. And so we go inside, and as soon as the guy seen us walking in, he starts heading toward the back door. And so I
better
made
watch
my way
out that club y'all were in. You better be careful. Somebody headed the back door.
Right. And so like we head, he's heading to the back door. I'm going through the sea of people, constables right behind me. His name's John was his name. And so me and John, we're wading through the people, and I grab him on his shoulder. And when I grabbed him, he spun around and swung at me with a beer bottle. And man, look, hey, when he missed, I grabbed him around the waist, locked my knuckles into his belly button, and it was Suplex City, bitch. I put him through a table. I put this on his right through a table, and the fight was on. And so by the time it was over with, we had to take him to the hospital. He had a cut over top his left eyebrow. And so while he was in there getting checked out, this son of a bitch had a perfect size 13.5 boot print, dead center of his back. And the doctor asked him, he said, where'd you get this boot print on your back? He turned around, kind of looked over his shoulder. He said, you see that big son of a bitch standing over there by the door, doc? He was like, yeah. He's like, that motherfucker kicked me dead in my ass. But I think the funniest one that I told was behind this where that club's at. It's in the same area, and right beside of that club was an old grocery store, or it used to be a grocery store, and a lot of prostitutes used to hang out in that area around late at night, between 1 and 5 o'clock in the morning. There'd be prostitutes. Well, out of the 6 or 7 that was frequent, there wasn't but like 2 of them that were female. The rest of them were cross-dressers. And I mean, I'm talking about they would have the whole 9, man. The wigs, the dress. I mean, I'm talking about they was one that I swear to God, I think he was a linebacker for the University of South Carolina. Like, I mean, that was that son of a bitch was Quad City in them hills. You hear me? I mean, that son of a bitch had some huge legs like tree trunks. But anyway, we was having an issue with people going around and tearing up the air conditioning units, right? And when they would tear the air conditioning units up to steal the copper out, they just, they would hit them like 5 or 6 in a row. So they had us out checking property, just going around behind buildings and basically spotlighting the AC units. So I go behind the grocery store, I hit the spotlight. And when I hit the spotlight, I see this guy standing against the, like the little roll-up door where the tractor and trailers would unload. He's standing there leaned up against that roll-up door with his hands behind his head like he's stretched out on the couch taking a nap. And so I seen him first, and then I hit the spotlight. As soon as I hit the spotlight, as soon as I hit the spotlight, I see this other little head come up from the ground. As he's wiping it, she, whatever it was, wiping his mouth off, and he's standing up. And I said, man, what the hell y'all doing back here? And the guy was like, we was just talking and she dropped her phone and she was looking for it. I said, shit, really? And he said, yeah. And I said, so when it turned around, I recognized him and it wasn't a him. Let's just say Samantha was Samuel. You know what I mean? And so, so when he turns around, I said, how y'all two know each other? And he was like, oh, this is my friend. I've known her. And he kept saying her. And he said, yeah, I've known her for a long time. And I said, yeah. I said, well, I've locked him up a few times myself. And he didn't catch it. You know what I'm saying? He was like, well, why would you lock us up? We're not doing that. And I said, well, me and him just got into it here about 2 weeks ago about walking up and down here, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning trying to flag cars down. And he said, no, it ain't nothing like that now. He was like, I ain't paying for no sex or nothing like that. I said, I didn't say you was. And I said, well, like I said, I know he is a known prostitute. And when he caught it that third time, he said, say what? I said, yeah, he is a known prostitute. And he was like, man, there ain't no damn he was like, this is my friend. He whatever name he told, he called, just say Samantha, And he said, no, I told you, man. He said, I've known Samantha for years. I told you this is my friend. And so I told my man, I said, tell him what your real name is. And so he looks at him. He's like, Samantha. I said, nah, motherfucker. Tell him what your real government name is. He turned back around, looked at him. He went, Sam. And when he talked with his real voice, man, and he saw it was a guy, he leans over the rail and just starts throwing up everywhere. I mean, he starts yakking, right? And so by this time, my corporals pulled up, and I told him when he pulled up, I said, hey, man, bring me a bottle of water over here. So he's bringing the bottle of water over here, and I put old boy or old girl or whatever you want to call him, I put him in handcuffs. I give the man a bottle of water. I let him wash his mouth out, and I put him in handcuffs. Now, mind you, the cross-dresser's in a pair of heels, right? The dude that was kissing on this thing was on a bicycle, right?
Jesus Christ. He's picking up hookers he's on a bicycle.
On a bicycle. And so I asked him, I said, why are you throwing up? He was like, I've been drinking since 10 o'clock this morning. He said, I was so fucked up, I couldn't even realize that's a dude. And he said, I've been back here kissing on that son of a bitch. And I told him, I said, bro, you know it's a prostitute and you're letting him kiss you in the mouth. I said, man, I said, bro, you got to have a little more sense than that. Well, then, at first it was funny. And then the rage starts setting in, right? Then he starts getting upset. Like, I can't believe I was back here with a dude. And man, I told him, I told him, I said, man, I told my corporal, I said, man, look, I said, if we send them to jail, they're going to put them in the same holding cell together. And that's not going to be good. And so I told old boy with the heels on, I said, look, man, I said, this some bitch over here is fit to be tired about you being a man. And I said, I tell you what I'm going to do. I said, he's on a bicycle and you're in heels. I took the handcuffs off of him. I told him, I said, man, I'm going to give you a 15-minute head start. And you better unass the area because I don't think you two should meet up tonight. And as soon as I took them handcuffs off and told them, man, all you could hear was them heels going off into this click, 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 click. Oh God, man!
I would have been like, I'm like, wait, it's okay. You can be gay together. It's okay. I mean, I'd have just kept,
And have you ever worked with somebody that always wanted to be like the person that finds stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like when they show up to your call and you're right in the middle of, doing your initial little look-see investigation and there's just always that one person that can do it better than you. And they show up to try to show you how to do it. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we had a guy on our shift, man. His dad was a preacher. And every time he showed up, he always would, like if we were searching a vehicle or something, and he showed up, he wouldn't come and say, hey, you need some help. He would just open the door and just dive right in. And like the stuff that you had moved out the way, he would start pushing it back in the way because he was trying to find it before you did. And we nicknamed him Father McFeely because his dad was a preacher, And so we nicknamed him Father McFeely. Well, one night, man, we pulled this girl over and she was the man in the relationship. And I told him, I said, man, I haven't searched the vehicle yet, but don't touch nothing. I said, it was one of those weird, like one of those weird situations. And I told him, I said, man, don't touch the car. I haven't got started on it yet. Well, what's Father McFeely do? He goes and starts diving in anyway. He pulls out a book bag and he goes, hey, you checked this yet? I said, man, like I told you, I haven't even started yet. Don't touch that shit. He just unzips the bag, hands first down in the bag. As soon as he puts his hand down in the bag, he goes, oh shit, what the fuck? And as he pulls his hand out the bag, he's got like a 24-inch double-headed dome, and it's still got like petroleum jelly and whatever the hell else was on there, right?
You're hoping it's petroleum jelly.
Oh God, man, it was so funny, man. So here he is, man, like about to throw up, sitting here holding a 2-foot long double-headed dong on the side of the damn major highway.
No gloves on.
No gloves, no nothing.
No, I've seen the rookie before searching, and they come out trunk. Look what I found, and turn around and look, and they're like holding this big dildo in their hand. And I'm like, was that in a package or anything like that? No, and they're sitting there holding it. I said, you do realize you don't have gloves on, right? And you're holding, and that's when it hits them that this thing, and they're like, they want to. I'm like, you're going to drop it it's too late now. It's too late.
And while he's sitting there holding it, man, old girl's like, hey, get your dirty ass hands off my strap.
I had these two I pulled over these two lesbians one time, and they're sitting there talking, and I'm thinking, oh God, they both, around both of their mouths was just full of fever blisters around both of their mouths.
Oh God.
I'm like, girl, y'all need some valve traces.
God, man. Man, listen, US 76 was 501. It turns into 501, and it's the major highway. It's a major 4-lane that goes from Florence all the way to Myrtle Beach. And there's a railroad track and an overpass right downtown. I'm talking about thousands of cars go through here a day. And man, there's this husband, they're husband and wife though, but they're homeless, and just they were on their way walking to Florence, and they got up in between the pillars of that overpass and just decided, hey, this is a good place to get it on today. and he hikes her skirt up over the damn railing, and he's just sitting there beating the cheeks, bro, right beside the damn 4-lane. And when we got there, he didn't even stop. He was like, "Hey, I know you're gonna arrest me, but at least let me get this one off before you put me in handcuffs." And he just kept right on going, bro. Like we wasn't even standing there. Most disgusting shit I ever seen.
That's what I tell people. People's like, "Oh, this." I'm gonna say, let me explain it to you. Usually, the naked people that we get to see are not the naked people you want to see. This is not.
Hell no.
That's like going to the beach. I don't know. I've never really been to the beaches in California, nothing like that. But I know every time I go to the beach, which is not too often because I'm not a beach person, but I've never been to a beach like Baywatch where everybody. Well, I probably wouldn't be allowed on that beach, but everybody's like beautiful.
Yeah, no,
I'm walking around saying, dude, they I didn't know he made bikinis that big. Stop.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but like I said, man, to me, I never had a good experience with the naked calls. Like I never got to go to one, and later on, talk to my corporal or something, be like, man, I wish we had more calls like that. Like I never got lucky and got every time I had one of those calls, man, it was either a dude or one time this lady, I mean, she had to be 65 years old, and she was messing around with a younger guy, and she had like the stereotypical old woman gown on with the little flower collar,
like a little moo-moo.
Right.
A little house coat or something.
Yeah, we're standing there talking to her, and she's like, look, this son of a bitch gave me pubic lice, and she just hikes it up, man, and shows the bush and all. She's like, I was like, oh my God, man, I want to see that shit. Nobody want to see this shit, man. Yeah. Put your skirt down, man.
I talked about one this just happened in the past year. Car broke down. This area I was in, it's very, very there's no houses there, and there's nothing out here except a boat. All it is a boat landing right off it's an exit off the interstate, but it's just a boat landing. No business, no houses, a few camps. That's it. Two older ladies broke down. Well, didn't break down. Their tire was coming apart, back rear tire. Well, I got them moved to a safe area, and the lady's like, I was going to change it, and she's like, I don't have a spare. Well, she didn't have one. Some cars now don't come with spares that can't have them. They had a place for it, no spare. Right. So I'm like, well, she asked me. I mean, they have to be in their 60s, mid to late 60s, and I'm like, she said, well, can we just duct tape it? I'm like, no. The steel belt radio was like separating from the tire. I don't think it's going to hold up. So we got some people coming, and I was like, okay, well, I went to say something to the other lady, and I turned around. This one old lady, she says, I got to pee. She just dropped her little elastic waist pants in her drawers all the way down to her ankle and squatted, just popped a squat right there in front of me and like started pissing. And I'm like, oh my God, I just turned around and looked. I didn't know, should I offer her a paper towel or what the fuck should I do? Because it was the last thing I wanted to do was see this old lady just squatting. I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh yeah. So it does happen. Now I had one umpteen back in the day. Me and this guy, we're running radar together. I pulled this car over. Girl was okay looking, and I said, I need your driver's license, insurance, registration. Oh, it's in my glove box. Well, she gets on her hands and knees inside of her car for some reason and starts digging in her glove box.
Oh, shit.
And I'm looking. Well, when she does this, she has a mini skirt on. And she's bent over in her car, her own car, instead of just in like, she had no panties on, and it was just a shining. I just looked at the other guy. I'm like, hey. He said, "What?" I said, "Come here, come see this shit." I said, I wasn't even trying to be shy about it because she wasn't. I said, "Come see this shit here." And she still got a ticket, but yeah, she had that thing just shining in there. It's like,
he said, shit, she still got a ticket.
yeah.
Oh, God, man.
Ma'am, are you threatening me with that vagina? Or it's like, put the vagina away. I mean, Jesus.
That old lady, man, shit, we should have locked her ass up, because that was some hellacious indecent exposure. That was some toxic exposures. What the fuck? That was disgusting, man. Like,
ma'am, I'll be right back. Come back with a weed eater. I got you.
look. She said, look at all this. Look at all these crabs.
Oh, God.
I was like, oh my God, man. This son gave me. It was either pubic lice or crabs, man. But she was
kind of the same thing.
She, I guess, I don't know. I just know she raised that thing up, man. It looked like a set of hedge bushes.
Kind of like, oh yeah, I've seen a few decent ones through the years, and then
yeah, I can tell you, man, I never got lucky on that end. I always got it's like I always got the shit into the stick on that.
We had said this, I talked about it before, but we had this girl, every weekend, every Saturday night, we'd get a call to this one house, and for domestic violence. We knew every Saturday about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning we were going to this house. Domestic violence call, battery.
It seems like there's one of those. I think there's one of those in every department of the. There's always that one place, you know.
But this was the husband I was calling.
Oh shit!
Because his wife was a stripper.
Oh shit!
And she would come home from stripping on Saturday nights really late, drunk.
Kiki is my middle name, bitch.
But she had some black belt in karate or some shit like that. Oh shit! And she would come home and he'd be like, "Why you so late? Why you drunk?" And she would whoop the shit out of his ass every weekend. It was like, dude, it's
not funny, but it is funny. You know what I mean?
This was before they had all these domestic violence laws they have now. But it's like, we'd be like, dude, why the fuck? Well, either shut up or leave her. Because she keeps whipping your, I mean, she's drunk and just drop kicked your ass in the face. I mean, stop. I mean, fuck, she just did a Bruce Lee round kick on you, and she can't even, and she can barely stand.
Yeah, you just took 2 to the damn face, bro.
Yeah, it's like, but I don't know what happened. They ended up moving. I don't know what happened to them. They got divorced together. But yeah, we knew them both by first name. We were like, it's like, she's like, that motherfucker's gonna come home. I'm over here, making all the fucking money. It's like, oh God. So I kicked him in the face, shit.
Yeah, that's what I say, man. We had one of those too, but it wasn't a dude, but it was, there was never any physical injuries, but it was always funny though.
And we had a little about to be politically incorrect here, but we used to have a same area the kung fu stripper was living in.
Did she jump in the? Did she jump in the filing cabinet too, like Henry the Mile Manager?
No, but it's like she was a good looking girl too. But in the same area they had this little fucking midget, and God, he was the meanest little fucker that you'd ever meet. Like, we were always arresting this little fucker. It's like, and we'd get him like, put your hands on the car. And he was so freaking short. We'd have his hands on the trunk, but they were above his head because his head didn't reach the top of the trunk. But, oh, God, he was the meanest little bastard you ever meet. Man, fuck y'all. It's like, fucking little Bushwick Bill looking motherfucker. Why don't you shut up?
Hey, I'll tell you, man, there was a guy here in Florence. He was a, like you said, be politically incorrect here. He was a fucking midget too. But this son of a bitch wore a size 18 tennis shoe.
His feet were bigger than his legs were.
a fucking 18, man. And when you saw him walking down the street, all you could see was the tips of those shoes coming up. And I swear to God, it looked like he was walking on water skis. I mean, and he had like the pants that he would wear had to be like 3 sizes too big. And then he had these sagging ass pants with his little ass cheeks shining and these size 18 shoes. And he'd just be walking, man. And he wasn't mean. That son of a bitch would always be laughing. And we always just thought he was laughing at his damn self. Because if I seen that reflection, I laugh like a motherfucker too.
Did the shoes fit, or was he the last person to loot the Walmart that day? Like, damn, last pair of shoes they had.
I never asked him, but I just know, like, I told my supervisor, I said, man, I said, that son of a bitch is always happy. I said, because when he walking past all those businesses, he see his own reflection. I said, shit, I'd be laughing all day too if I fucking look like that.
Frequent flyers, though.
Yeah, that son of a bitch had a damn. I think his shoes had their own area code, man. He had his own county on his feet.
I mean, I wonder if his feet were actually that big. Was he supposed to be born a tall person and shit got fucked up and the feet just?
I don't know. I know.
Waiting to grow into my feet.
I tell my supervisor, I said, man, that son of a bitch pay taxes on them goddamn feet. Cause he's taking up. He got at least 2 acres on his feet. I'm telling you.
We got a guy here. I hadn't seen him in a while. My wife nicknamed him Moses. But this dude would walk everywhere he went. But something's wrong with him. But I don't know what his real name is. But this dude would like wear shit like he'd be walking outside the road with these space goggles or something on.
Oh my God!
And like a big sombrero. The reason we used to have to deal with him all the time because people would fucking call and say they got somebody walking down the road with a sombrero on with a freaking rifle on. Well, they got a rifle. It wasn't a rifle. Motherfucker was an umbrella.
Oh my God, man! What the fuck?
But he would like make his own shit. Like it was like he'd walk down the road with this space helmet made out of aluminum foil and shit and stuff like that. So, but it's like, I don't know why she named him Moses, but
man.
But oh yeah, but walked every day. And as bad as his parents lived to get a 2-story house. You'd think his ass was homeless or something.
Oh my God! Hey, I'm gonna tell you this story, man, real quick, and I'm just gonna say, if you want to laugh. I don't know if your listeners is gonna laugh, but I'm gonna share this story with you. But I don't know if it's funny or just karma working swiftly, right? But we had this guy. He was a frequent flyer, and his name was Leon. I don't know if that was his real name or not, because I never had to deal with him because he wasn't in my district. But I just know his name was Leon. And the reason I remember that is because one night, the guy that was working in that district, he was a pretty good sized guy, man. I'm talking about, he was a good 350, 360, you know. And so he was chasing Leon one night, and he fell. As he was chasing behind him, his foot ran into it, dropped down in a sinkhole, and he fell and broke his damn ribs. And while he's laying there on the ground holding his ribs, he said Leon turned around and told him, "That's what you get, you fat cracker motherfucker." So now that he's retired, he's got his own, what's it called when you can sell firearms? FFL or something like that?
Something I'm not sure.
Well, he's got his own license now to build, to do custom builds and sell firearms and stuff like that. And he literally named his company FCMF, Fat Cracker Motherfucker. That's what it stands for. But he named his business FCMF. And but anyway, Leon was a piece of shit, right? I mean, like a first class piece of shit. He was a crackhead, and he probably wasn't. He might have been 5'5", a little short fucker, and You remember when Hurricane Katrina? You're from Louisiana.
Oh, I remember.
You remember when Katrina come through, right? Well,
Can't forget that.
well, Leon, about a year before Hurricane Katrina, Leon's little crackhead girlfriend stabbed him in the gut. And when she stabbed him, she almost killed him. But he ended up having a damn he had a colostomy bag and a feeding tube, like directly in the damn stomach. And so after Hurricane Katrina, when they started talking on the news about moving, I get what was I don't know if they was calling them refugees, but
Well, we got in trouble for calling them refugees because they're supposed to be evacuees.
okay, all right, yeah. Well, that's the word I was looking for.
We did call them refugees.
Well, I apologize. I was just, what I'm saying, like, if anybody listens to this that had family, I apologize. I couldn't remember, but yeah, he was going around telling people that he was a evacuee from Louisiana, Hurricane Katrina. Now, mind you, this son of a bitch has lived in Florence all of his life, right? He's going around to. And don't get me wrong, he was a piece of shit, but he was a smart piece of shit because he would start at one end of town and he was going around to the churches and talking to these people, suckering them into getting donations and money and food. And one church even put his ass up in the little crackhead motel and paid the goddamn room up for a month for him, right? They paid the room up for a month and gave this crackhead son of a bitch $1,500 because he was going around lying, telling people he lost his daughter and lost his mama, and he would show them that colostomy bag and feeding tube, and was like, yeah, like making up this wild shit, like, yeah, I was trying to swim over and save my daughter, and the current from the water, took me, and I got caught on this rusty. Whatever, and it gashed me open. Now I'm stuck with this feeding tube and this colostomy bag. I mean, just making up the wildest shit you could think of to get people to feel sorry for him. Well, he was trespassed from damn near. If he walked down Main Street of Florence on the wrong sidewalk, he could literally go to jail like 15 times in a row. Seriously, he was trespassed from every business except for like a couple. And so, long story short, he goes showing these people making up this wild ass shit, telling them he's a evacuee from Hurricane Katrina, lost his daughter, lost his mama, all this bullshit. Well, after about the fifth or sixth church that he hit and hit up for money, one of the pastors called him. I guess he put him back up in the motel and had given him some money, and that particular pastor was on his way to go somewhere, and he saw Leon on the corner with the dope man, and he like literally saw the transaction. So the pastor, rightfully so, he gets pissed off. He calls the police. We show up. Well, the FCMF showed up, and he just happened to catch him walking by one of those places he was trespassing. He walked inside, so he arrested him for trespassing. And so he asked him about it. He said, "Man, you're going around, lying to these damn churches, man." He said, "You're gonna go to hell for that shit." And so that this goes on for like 3 months. Every time FCMF gets out with him, he tells him like, "Hey man, you're going to hell, for lying to these churches and shit." So he tells Leon like 15 times, "You're going to hell. You're going to be punished. God's going to punish you." Like he's fucking with him, for stealing from these churches. Well, one night, it didn't happen on their shift, but the opposite shift was working one night, and they was extremely busy. And one of those businesses called on Leon for trespassing. Well, like I said, he couldn't even go from the city over into the stores that were in the county because he was trespassed from those too. Well, us as city officers and the deputies as county officers, like all of us knew him because we was always get calls about him, frequent flyer. Well, that particular night, everybody was tied up, man. The county was tied up. I think they had like 2 club shootings. that night. I mean, super busy. So they called about Leon, and one of the guys from the sheriff's department, they picked his ass up and took him like 12 miles out into the county to a truck stop, to a Petro. And they told him, they was like, look, you can hang out here. I know you got money because you took it from the church. You can get a shower. You can get food. You can get everything you need right here at this truck stop. Don't bring your ass back around the city limits tonight. Well, what's this dumbass do, man? He walks across the street to the other store because, truck stops don't serve alcohol. Well, he walks across the street to the Exxon station, and he takes that money because they took him away from his dope, man. So he decides to get drunk. Well, he knew, he gets the fiending for, this is what the guy from the store is telling us. He said he told him, he's like, man, I got, he said he was sweating, and he told him, he's like, man, I'm fiending, like, and his alcohol's not helping. Like, I got a buzz, but he wanted some crack. Well, instead of walking back toward the city, he knew if one of those officers saw him or a deputy saw him, they was finna take his ass to jail, right? So this dumb son of a bitch walks up the on-ramp, the I-95, and it's 6 miles from the Petro exit down to the next exit where all the motels and shit are in Florence. He decides to go up. He's going to get on the interstate and walk 6 miles instead of 12 miles and get back to Florence. Well, he made it about a quarter of a mile, and it was like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, drunk as shit. And he stumbled over into the damn lane, and an 18-wheeler hit him. And the only thing that was left of that son of a bitch was that feeding tube that he used to show everybody and tell him he was fucking evacuee from Hurricane Katrina and got hurt saving his daughter's life. Or, his daughter died in his arms while he was trying to save her. Wow. And that's how they identified him, was from that goddamn feeding tube and colostomy bag.
Jesus, karma finally got up with him.
That's what I said, man. I think, but what makes it, like I said, what gives it a little humor is all those months the FCMF told him, you're going to hell, God's going to punish you, and all this shit. And the only thing that was left of him was the same shit that he used to show those churches to get the money from. Ain't that some shit?
Yeah, the only thing bad about that story is that poor truck driver.
Yeah, that's what all of us said. We was like, man, I don't feel bad for him, but I know that driver's gonna have to live with that for the rest of his. And we even told him, like, my man said, he told him, he was like, man, look, it's like I know you feel bad. The guy was drunk. He was like, listen. He's like, you did the world a favor. Trust me. He's like, I hate to say that, but you did the world a favor. And that's what the deputy told him.
It's like he's finally gotten past his trespassing complaints.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, he got permanently trespassed from I-95. He was on a county-wide ban. But I just it all it always amazed me, man, how I've never really believed in karma and shit like that, man. But that made me change my perspective because, like I said, obviously he was mangled up. Like I said, the only thing you could positively identify on him was that goddamn colostomy bag and that feeding tube. I mean, it was in perfect tact. It was that one little section right there stayed intact.
This little torso part.
Yeah,
I'm sure you get hit by an 18-wheeler at speed, you're just gonna pop like a little grape.
Oh God, yeah. And like I said, that little spot right there, man. Like I tell you, it was picture perfect, like it was in a catalog or something. Like and we was like, damn. And then like I said, it made me change my perspective. I was like, that is definitely some karma shit. Like the same thing he used to rob those churches out of that money is the only thing you can identify by.
Man, people, like I said, I'm just saying, you keep doing dirt long enough, that shit's eventually gonna turn around and do you. Kind of like that, with them old movies and Final Destination movies.
Right. Well, and I, I don't want to kill the mood, man. We've had some good laughs and shared some stories, but you know, I don't know if you've seen one of my videos I shared on TikTok was about two of the hardest cases I ever worked, and like I said, when we was talking about the serious stuff, when I got arrested and everything, um, a lot of people don't realize, man, that if you work in an active department that has a lot of violence and crime, us as officers, man, we actually see, you know, it's like a war zone, man. We see more gruesome, evil shit than most people see combat, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, I did see a TikTok thing going around recently, because I watch TikTok for the funny. I mean, they got some people on there that just wants to put out crap, and lies and stuff.
Right.
But I've seen a lot of. They got some new one now going trim with the cops or whatever thing. Got to turn it off. Got to turn it off. And I know some people probably try to do it for, I don't know, clicks or clout or whatever. But for a basic part of it, it is. You do have to learn how to turn it off. And
Mm-hmm.
because, like I said, I've been doing this now, right, 27 years. And like I said, the wife can tell you, I'm not as bad as I used to, but some things will kick stuff off with nightmares or crap that I've
Yep.
seen and crap that I've done and all that other stuff like that. I mean, like I said, there's a whole lot of crap I've seen that most people ain't gonna see this crap in their entire life, and they don't need to. But I guess people's like, oh, you're cold hearted. Y'all laugh about this, laugh about that. Well, if I didn't,
It'd be hard to deal with. And like I said, not to kill the mood, but that's kind of what I was alluding to in the when we was talking about the other stuff. Like, not only was I dealing with the stress of not being a part of that community anymore, because that's was the positive side. That I enjoyed, and I could see myself and making great changes within that department and within the community. Like I said, everything was going really good. So, I got in a bad headspace myself because I felt like they took that from me. And then I think I didn't realize it until I quit law enforcement that, like what you just said, a lot of times, man, um, when we see gruesome stuff like that, and we have a laugh about it, um, or whatever, they took that. I see that as therapy now. Like, when I was working, it's kind of like I was at work, but it was also a 12-hour therapy session, because most normal people, man, that's not, if you talk to normal people that do other jobs other than law enforcement, they don't want to hear about, somebody being identified by a fucking colostomy bag and a feeding tube. Like, when you start telling most people that, they be like, man, that's some sick ass shit. Like, why? I don't want to hear that. And so like I said, man, I went through the same thing. I don't know if you call it PTSD or whatever you want to call it, but
yeah, I mean, it's the same things I say the military goes through.
Yeah,
It's a battlefield. It's just a different type of battlefield.
yeah. And I felt like they robbed me of that. And like I said, man, before I got in my car wreck August 20 of 2020, and I died 3 times. I got coded out 3 times, and just I was on my way to a job interview when I had this wreck. But before this job interview, I had went through this 2 years. I mean, I still had my paving business running, but I felt empty. I felt like just a shell of a man out here walking around. It's like I couldn't feel love. I couldn't feel hate. I just felt like I guess a warm body, so to speak. That's all I was. I wasn't happy. Like I said, man, I was in a really, really bad headspace, and when I had this accident, it flipped my perspective on that too, because I had reached a point where I was so depressed. And it's like you said with the nightmares, I would lay down to go to sleep at night. Everything would start playing like a movie. All the just,
Yep.
gruesome, nasty shit that I ever saw. I'm going through this, and then now I'm here in a wheelchair. I can't walk, and I'm laid up in the hospital bed, and all this. Well, I'm talking about before the wreck, but I didn't have a job. I wasn't. My business was doing great, but the money wasn't making me happy. I was like, I told my wife, I said, man, I'm making great money, but I'm miserable. I told her, I said, man, some mornings I got to a point literally like I would wake up in the morning and I'd be like, oh, God damn, I got to open my eyes and breathe again until I go back to sleep. Like I was in a bad headspace, man.
Well, I think the
And
problem is people. You dedicate most of your life for public service and helping other people, and then once you're not doing it no more, you just kind of say, okay, well, what's my purpose?
yep,
Because I had some issues with why I'm with a different department. Well, I'll talk about one day when I retire, but
right,
it's like I went through. It wasn't for long, but I was like, okay. When I left the other one, I'm like, I didn't know what I was going to do. I'd been a cop for 23 and a half years at the point. I'm like, what am I going to do now? Am I going to go back? I was lucky enough to find a really good department I went to, but it's like for a little while there, I was like, okay. And that's why on some other podcasts, I say, especially these young guys, don't let that badge, that uniform define who you are, because that's not who you are. It's
exactly.
part of what you do. And be proud of it or whatever, but don't make it so much of your life that once you don't have it no more, you feel naked and like
Oh yeah.
you don't have a purpose or nothing like that.
Well, let me, like I said, I know this is off topic of what we said we was going to talk about, but in light of recent law enforcement things that's received national attention, let's say, I say that because I don't want to pick one specific incident, because I've seen some of them that I felt myself wasn't justified, and I've seen some of them that people has protested about that I feel like, because I've been in similar situations, like I kind of feel like, what the hell did you want them to do?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't want to get into a big, but my question is, and I want to get your thoughts on this. The department that I work for at Florence, right? We had a, a lot of people say, when you tell people, that you're involved in the community, and they were like, you get these comments that say like, well, you seem like a great guy, and from appearances, you appear to be, what was a great officer that was beneficial to the community. So when you see these other officers, doing shit or profiling or stereotyping, why don't you speak up, and get those guys out of there? And I try to explain to them that it's not that simple. And so I said all that to say this. The department that I initially started my career with, we had, in our policy manual, it stated that no department issued device, in-car camera, digital voice recorder, body cam, none of that could be used for the purpose of filming another officer. And so if you caught someone doing, something that brought a bad name to being a police officer, and you caught that on your issued device, you can't use that as proof that they were doing something that, warranted them being fired. So my question is if they did something nationwide to eliminate departments from using that crutch, do you think it would make relationships better with the community, or do you think that would be
No, I don't think it would help. I think the biggest problem right now is the media and the politicians.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I agree 100%. I think
But
the media pushes.
because ours, I mean, if a crime's being committed and they have it on body cam, it should be now. Like so a lot of departments have where I'm not. You're not allowed to. Oh, I think we lost them here for a minute. I don't know what happened. Here we go. No, I think we good.
Okay. And my dog, man, stepped on my cord and snatched my phone down, and I tried to catch it and I hit the end button. I apologize.
It's no big deal. No, it's because now a lot of departments I know have things where I can't like secretly record you or stuff like that, but like with the body cam stuff, that's gonna be. I mean, because
right. Well, I mean, that's kind of what I'm asking. Like, do you think we should? Do you like if I was still in law enforcement and listen? Like I said, I'm not trying to single you out, but just using you and I as an example, right? You and I are working together, and I see you doing some heinous shit. Like, I mean, I kind of feel like that's what it's there. I mean, like I said, I'm just sharing my opinion.
Yeah, well, if I'm working with somebody and I see him doing some shit that. First of all, that's illegal. I'm going to go up and say, "Hey, man, you stop it if you look at me, turn me, man, fuck you, mind your own business." Well, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to leave, and I'm not going to get into anything verbal with you, but don't think you can call me whatever you want to, but I'm not getting fired or going to jail for you.
Right, and I guess a lot of the reason why I'm asking you this, and like I say, and I hope people understand and hear this, that, I'm speaking from a very unique perspective because of what happened to me. Just so happens, the person that had access to my office, just so happens the security camera, that was tied into the building, the audio, the audio and the what's the other cable called? Like the old timey cables. Coax, yeah. Just so happens the coax was disconnected along with the audio. So, I mean, but in that aspect, I was the boss, so obviously I would have. I mean, like, shit, I didn't have that policy when I took over. I was like, shit, if you catch somebody doing something, get that shit. Let's get them out of here. And that's what and I kind of think departments use that as an out to not get sued. Also,
Oh yeah, I think that's the main thing. They're just worried about getting sued.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, me personally, I do think I think I don't think they should be able to use that as a crutch, though. Like because in my experience. Like I mean, I'll just be honest with you. Like one night we pulled up. This black guy was breaking into the store, and he had the dreadlocks down his back, all that shit. And I ain't gonna say what department it was. It wasn't our department. We was going to assist, and because everybody else was on one side of the damn county or whatever you want to call it. And so they was like, hey, can you? They come over the radio and say, hey, can you send 2 guys over here to respond with this one person, that's responding in their jurisdiction. As we're showing up, we're coming from one direction. The other officer, that's supposed to be responding, is coming from another direction. And when he sees that Charger come around the curve, he comes out the door and then goes around the side of the building toward the back because the road kind of wires off. You follow me?
Yeah.
And so as he broke around the back of that building, he was trying to cross over that other road to go into the woods. And so when the guy that was responding seen him, he just banked hard right and went up to the Y, and he hit that motherfucker with his car with a push guard on. And I'm telling you, I saw this myself. This man's shoe was embedded in the grill of this Dodge Charger. And he's laying there in the roadway. And the guy throws the car in park. The officer throws the car in park, gets out, walks up to this man laying in the road that he just hit with his patrol car. And I mean, like, he's hollering, like, "Oh God, I need an ambulance." Like, "I fucked up. I'm hurt." And he gets down on one knee, grabs him by his dreads, picks his head up, and he's like, "Where's your ID, boy?" And he tells him, he's like, "Man, I ain't got no ID. I need to go to the hospital." And he says, "So you're out here breaking into shit. You ain't got no fucking ID on you," and just plants his face back into the hardtop. And, the person that responded to me was my supervisor. And he looked at me and he said, "Let's get the fuck out of here." And so that's why I'm asking this question. Like, if that shit was on his dash cam, why shouldn't that be able to be used? Because that shit was uncalled for.
No, it should. No, it should be able to be used.
Well, it got destroyed, and then when we went and inquired about it and voiced our concerns, we were told if we didn't have no proof, we need to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, a lot of this, that's what, when you and I talked off the show, I mean, that's what I was telling you, man. There's a lot of, and I'm sure it's like that in a lot of southern states, but man, there's a lot of crazy, like, borderline racist good old boy shit that happens around here a lot. And I think, and that's a lot of reason why I share my content. I think people need to be aware of it, but at the same time, like you said, in the day and age we live in now, they take one incident, like what I witnessed myself, and they don't show these other 99 instances where we do good.
No, they're only going to take the bad. Well,
yeah.
I'm not going to get a whole bunch into it, just because I don't know what your opinion, and I'm going to get in debate. But they got that recent shooting of that kid up there, that same place Chauvin's from. They shot the kid. I know, my opinion. I mean, they out protesting and all the stuff about it right there. I mean, he's the one that they were after? No. I mean, but you've been in law enforcement. Somebody gets up with a gun in their hand. You don't have time to say, "Excuse me, sir, what do you plan on doing with that gun?" Exactly. I mean, bad situation. Yeah, bad situation. Sorry that this kid got killed, but it was a good shoot in my eyes. I mean, I'd have probably done the same thing. I want to go home.
And that's what I was about to say, man. Like, that doesn't mean I agree with it, but if you've ever been in a situation like that, watching it on that, watching that replay on that body cam is not like being there.
Oh no, you have milliseconds.
Yeah, and it's like and I also feel like situations like that, although they're unfortunate and it probably could have been prevented, possibly. But had they not pushed the bullshit so much, the enragement, I think, would have been lesser. But right now they feed off of every little, negative thing that happens.
Well, even ones that shouldn't be negative, they do the same thing. I mean, a lot of times I see these stories come out and I talk about them, but a lot of times I say too, it's like, from what I can see right now, this is the way it looks. Once the rest of it comes out, we'll see. Because it's right away. And it's like, I'm going to say, as it appears, let's see what the rest of it says. But you know what? You can have an opinion on it. But until everything comes out of it, don't go out there protesting and doing this and doing that and making comments. Let's wait and see what happens.
Even when the whole video comes out, again, like your average person out here that's never done law enforcement work, like you said, even when the whole video comes out, you can sit there and quarterback it from your couch all day long, but until you've experienced that adrenaline rush and everything that's going on, it's really hard to understand how quick that shit actually happens. You know what I'm saying? Like it's hard to. It's just like there's a clip that started floating around. It's really old, but I can't remember what state it was in. But they invited those reporters to come.
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah, and do the fast training.
Yeah.
And not a single one of those reporters, not one of them that went through the fast training was like, I could pass. You know what I'm saying? Like every single one of those people that went through the fast training was like, oh my God.
Well, I think most of them, majority of them, I think all of them maybe, shot the unarmed guy reaching for his cell phone.
Yeah, every one of them. Yeah, every single one of them. And that's, like I said, man, it's like you said, you can, the only, I ain't even going to talk about the George Floyd shit, because I know, people still touch about that, but.
No, I got two. My whole opinion is I would, with that many cops there, I don't think they should have kept them in that prone position like that. I'd set them up. Do I think that's what killed him? No, I think he probably would have. He was hollering he couldn't breathe before. I think he had maybe ingested too much drugs. Did the other part contribute to it? Him laying down prone? Yeah, but I wouldn't have. You got 4 or 5 cops there. You got plenty of people. You could have set them up. So I mean,
yeah, I disagree with that. Like I said, that's why I say I didn't want to get into it, because that situation was completely fucked. But the one that bothered me the most was when I can't remember the guy's name, which is sad, and I apologize for that. But the one that bothered me the most was the traffic stop. And the man asked him, he told him he had a weapon, and he asked him to see his permit. And then when he, reached in the glove box to get it, he shot the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And that one really bothered me, because I've worked with people. Man, you've been in law enforcement longer than I was. And, every now and then you get those guys that are hired, and they only last like 3 or 4 months. And everywhere they go, they're scared of their own shadow, and you're just wondering, like, why the fuck did you even sign up for this job?
I've seen them with my own 2 eyes.
Right, and I kind of feel like that's the situation that happened with that interaction. That was a situation where you had an officer that shouldn't have been an officer, because if he was that damn scared, my thing is this. Like I said, I was trained old school. We talked about the tasers. We talked about, the cap stun, the OC spray. But the older guys that trained me, man, always told me, like, if you're scared to go hands on and you're scared of confrontation, you need to quit now. Like, don't even waste your time going forward with this career. If you're not sure of yourself and you're scared to go hands on first, when applicable, then you need to just give it up,
Well, I pull people over, especially like in Louisiana. We're a open carry state, and in Louisiana, your car is considered an extension of your home. So you can have a weapon anywhere you want to in your car without having a permit. And so, I mean, I pull people over all the time, and people are like, hey, I got a gun. It's right here. I'm like, okay. I'm like, look, you leave, and I'm not the cop. Like, all right, step out of the vehicle.
Right, yeah.
Like you see on TV, and I don't pull the gun out. I don't start checking. If you don't give me a reason for me to start checking, I'm like, all right, look, leave your gun where it's at, and I'm going to leave mine where I'm at. Okay, just don't get close to it. No. And I haven't had any issues with it. So I mean, and I see these TV shows or some of these cop shows. I'm like, my God, I mean. The guy just said, all right, look, I have a gun right here in the console. Right. Like, oh, step out of the vehicle, put your hand. I was like,
yep.
If the guy was wanting to hide it, he wouldn't have told you.
Right, yeah. If he wanted to harm you, he wouldn't have said, like, hey, I got a weapon. He would have waited till you was busy and dropped you.
Warn you. So it's a whole different situation. Well, I'm not going to keep you that much longer. We've been an hour and a half again. We've been doing this for over 3 hours.
Oh, shit, really?
Yeah. But I'll definitely have to have you back on again.
We got a 3-part episode, sounds like to me.
But we have to do it again. So everybody, I hope y'all enjoyed Jason. He'll probably have him back, 'cause we're good at talking with each other. Y'all
anytime, man.
Go check him out on YouTube and his TikTok. And y'all have a safe weekend, and like, share, and like, and remember to smile, because the Iceman could always be behind you.